Hi, it's Michael Pilarski with Friends of the Trees Botanicals, and another video of a more rare plant, not rare in the world, but rare to the United States. This is from China. This is one of their medicinal plants, and it's called, colloquially, Zi Cao. I'm sure I'm not pronouncing it quite right, but it's Lithospermum erythrorhizon is the Latin, and Lithospermum means stone seed. And these have little tiny white stone-like, they look like, you might say, ivory or bone. They're really hard. That's a really hard, and it's interesting. One of the medicines of this is to grind up the seeds and use the powder from the ground up seeds as a medicine. The whole upper plant is used, and the root. It's interesting that the root is a purple dye plant. So this is a purple dye, and there's a European Lithospermum, which is officinalis, used medicinally in Europe, and there's a western or inland northwest Lithospermum called Ruderal, which has a red dye. The root is a red dye used by the native peoples there. And it's also that both of them have effects on the glandular system. So they've been used, the US one has been used as a contraceptive or even a sterilant. And they slow hormone production down, which means that certain cancers slow down their growth too. If a cancer is being fed by hormones, growth is being fed by hormones, this will slow the cancer down. So this is used in cancer therapies, maybe directly as well as that indirect method. So I've been growing this for decades. All three of the Lithospermum, but mostly this one. And this is maybe the biggest one. I'm just going like, wow, I think this is the biggest one I've ever grown. This has been here. It's only been, I think this is the 4th year for this hedgerow. This is part of the pollinator hedgerow. So anyway, the size of the root is the more stems there are, and the more wider this spread of the stems, the bigger the root. So I know this is going to be a big root, but I don't really feel like digging it today. But this is going to be a really big root, and it will probably be hollow inside. Almost all the Lithospermums I know, a lot of times they become hollow inside. And I don't know why they chose that. Well, actually, it might be that I see ant colonies living in the hollow roots in the wild for our ruderal. So maybe they're doing it so that they give a house for ants, which then protect them from anybody that wants to bother them. Anyway, just a thought, because I've certainly been attacked by the ants when I've been digging these things, and I run into one of those hollow ones with the ants. Any rate, this is a interesting medicinal and a dye plant, and I just was doing some research, and I'm going to read a little bit from here. But one thing I just learned today is that the best color it's considered for the dye for the root is to harvest the root before the plant goes into flowering. And then after it flowers, which is most of the time I've dug it, and which is certainly the case, it's way past flowering. This has got ripe seed on it. That the dye is a bit darker of a color and not considered quite as good a quality, at least in China. So anyway, so there's a purple dye, but it's brightest before the plant flowers. That's the root. And Denny Bone, this is my favorite resource guide for researching medicinal herbs. Denny Bone, Bown. Excellent book. And it's a lot of things from around the world, covers a lot of species. I'm just going to read a few sentences about the Lithospermum, because she says things so concisely. And it's medicinal uses. Well, I'm going to start with the properties. A sweet, soothing, healing herb that lowers fever and clears toxins. It stimulates the liver, heart, and circulation, and has contraceptive and anti-cancer effects. Internally, for irritant skin conditions, measles, chickenpox, boils, carbuncles, hepatitis, and skin cancer. So it's used for a lot of skin conditions. Externally, for eczema, diaper rash, burns, abscesses, poison oak or ivy rash, vaginal discharge, and herpes. That's quite a lot of things it's useful for. Extracts are added to skin care creams, so it's also added. So it's external use as well. So it's a dye and quite a nice medicinal plant. And so, so far I've been growing this for decades. I don't think I've ever sold any. I do sell the seeds in the marketplace a bit, but no one's ever purchased the root from me for dye or for medicine, or the aerial plant for that matter. So I'm interested in seeing if anybody out there would be interested in some of my Zi Cao, because I still have bunches of it growing. In fact, it's become it's a weed in our garden. We never plant it. It just plants itself, and it's really good at it. Got nice, looks definitely better at from this side. All right, so here we are at one of the Zi Caos. A couple of them going to dig here to see the root. And notice this is a part, again, one of our polycultures. Growing here are the Lithospermum. Like I said, they planted themselves. I also have black Indian hemp, Apocynum cannabinum, which is a sort of a toxic medicinal, but I grow, and it's a fiber plant as well. I see we actually have a pokeweed growing here, which is another weedy species. And then there's a lot of peppermint here in the foreground, sort of like ground cover peppermint. And then leaning over it in the back is goldenrod, which has already been harvested. So we've got, and there's a bunch of dandelion under here too, nice big dandelion, another weed crop. So we have 5 medicinals growing just in the same, right together here. So let's see what these roots look like. Now, notice that the roots will start turning redder as we're just watching it start oxidizing, coming out of the ground here. So the root hairs and the plant itself, there's a lot of red in here. That's the dye component. And so I'm going to harvest the seeds, and then also these a bit of the roots as well. Okay, Zi Cao, Lithospermum, erythrorhizon.